When I was a kid, my parents didn't tell me about peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. But I didn't think of this as child abuse. After all, they were both born in Poland, and while there was bread, unsliced, and jellies, there was no peanut butter. I don't even believe there were peanuts in Poland. And so I didn't hold it against them. I found out about the peanut butter and jelly sandwich from my best friend who lived next door. His mom made them for us until his dad got pretty wealthy, and then she got a maid who made them for us then. They didn't know about it, and I don't blame them. During the war, WW2 that is, my folks agreed to go to the Russian side, and if you're Jews, that's a bad idea. And then they said, we changed our mind because they'd heard stories that the Russians weren't so nice. But they were very civilized people, and folks weren't sure. So, both my mom and dad's family said, hey, we changed our mind, we want to go to the Soviet Union instead. And all the Soviet Union did with those people is they put them in Siberia or Uzbekistan as far away from the fighting as possible, which is pretty good. And the reason they did that is they thought they were sympathizers of the Nazis, and even though Hitler is going to make a pact with Stalin, Stalin didn't trust Hitler, and that's pretty good thinking there, Stalin, because you know what happened later. And so they put all these people out of harm's way, and it was a pretty good deal in that sense, not getting killed. Of course, Siberia and Uzbekistan weren't the greatest places to live. Lots of people died, they were starving, and all that kind of shit. But my dad was about 8 years old at the time, and my mom was about 4, and they went to schools there, and my mom, being 4 years old, was indoctrinated. And my dad was a little older, so he didn't get quite so indoctrinated, but essentially in these schools and the kindergartens, they all had these beautiful pictures of Joseph Stalin. Now, Joseph Stalin was a short, ugly man. I'm not sure how short he was or how ugly he was. I've seen pictures. I mean, I don't know if he's like Kim Jong-il or whatever, but he was not that cool of a guy as far as, well, lots of ways. But they had these wonderful big old posters of him everywhere, and Stalin was not just the leader of the country. Stalin was the father of all the children in the Soviet Union. Every single one of them. He was their father, not their father. Joseph Stalin was their father. And he wasn't a human being. He had superhuman powers, and he was tall, and he was wise, and he was protecting the whole country, and there was nobody like him. He was God, because there wasn't a God in the Soviet Union except Joseph Stalin. Now, the peanut butter and jelly sandwich thing I can forgive. But I was never told about Joseph Stalin. That's right. I mean, until my teens. And I found out that to my mom's dying day, she worshipped him. She felt that he was the greatest person alive, even though she knew that he may have murdered more people than Hitler. She still had incredibly positive feelings for this guy. And she worshipped her father, who was a real bastard, her real father, but she worshipped Stalin even more, who was also a real bastard. Now, since my folks were both atheists, I was never told about Joseph Stalin, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, or God. In fact, there was not like we are atheists or anything. It was just nothing. Now, I was given the choice. Do you want to go to temple, or do you want to go outside and play? And by the way, if you want to go to temple, we're going to have to find one, and we're going to have to get all dressed up, and it's going to take a while, and it's going to be boring as shit. So what do you want to do? I'll go out and play. And that's what I did. But when I was growing up, I found out about this thing called God. It was never brought up. Now, actually, when I got old enough, my dad was kind of embarrassed to talk about sex, so my mom gave me the talk about it, and I've already figured out some of it myself, and she did a pretty good job about that. But the thing about this is that I never got any mention of Joseph Stalin, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, or God. They were completely absent. Now, okay, we've already decided the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, my folks, they didn't know about that kind of stuff. But they knew about Stalin, and they knew about God. They didn't believe in God, but it wasn't brought up. And when I told people about, oh, I don't believe in God, because I didn't realize that was a bad thing, I heard about it, I figured it out, you know. It's kind of like sex. You figure it out. But I never got the God talk from anyone. And I got some like, wow, you know, well, I'm going to pray for you. You don't believe in God. And then I got some questions about my parents, you know, like looks and stuff like, that's child abuse. Ugh. So what I'm thinking is, that is child abuse. Not telling somebody about God and not telling somebody about Joseph Stalin. These are things I should not have had to find out for myself. Now, what I'm going to propose here is that I think that every responsible parent should put Joseph Stalin and God on equal footing, tell them about each of them in the same manner as they're presented in the former Soviet Union as the father of all children, a superhuman being able to have immense powers over everyone and protector of everyone in the country. And about God, you know, the usual types of stories. And let them decide. Just like creationism and evolution. And by the way, I've been watching a lot of N.D. Clark videos recently. They help me become a little less self-centered.